And welcome back to Geek Out of Say. I'm Vince, and we're having fun, having a great geeky time here on Friday. And I have my friend here, artist Austin.
He thinks y'all are friends. That's so cute.
Rogers.
I'll take it.
He's my buddy. He's my buddy. We've known each other for how long? It's been a while.
6 years, 5 years.
Oh,
5
no,
or 6
it's
years.
way longer than that.
Is it
Don't
way
you
longer?
remember at ChimeraCon when you were turning people into zombies?
Oh, yeah.
You did that for our son.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He was 9 years old.
Then, yeah, no.
And he's turned 20 a few
No,
days ago.
that was at another Comic-Con.
It was? Oh, I thought it was at
Yeah.
ChimeraCon. Because
No.
he was an artist
But
for
he was,
ChimeraCon,
yeah,
too.
he was at ChimeraCon.
I was, but I don't think I was doing zombie portraits anymore.
Oh, you weren't?
Yeah.
Okay. But it was a long time ago. Nick
gave
was
it
like
up.
9. He was little.
Okay, yeah, that's a long time. Then.
So like 11 years.
I probably just, like, instinctively blocked out, like, a section of those years.
He's
Just
like,
because.
oh, he was traumatized by just knowing Vince. So if you know Vince, you're traumatized. No.
There we go.
It
We're
was
back
fun.
on.
Yeah, you're good.
We're good.
So, a lot has changed since then.
Right.
Since we first met. Back then, you were doing a webcomic. I don't know if you wanted me to mention that. I mentioned that now.
I was doing some web comics. I had a website called hold on a second. Can we like green screen this out?
No.
Okay. I'm just like an invisible cup.
If you put it over here, then it'll be out.
Oh, okay.
It'll be invisible.
But yeah, so I used to my first venture into the comics industry was kind of a DIY web comic. I had a website called Redbeard Comics.
Mm-hmm.
This is this, and it was my nickname. And so basically, I had a lot of I just kind of like a variety of stuff. I didn't have like a solid like here's this web comic where I kind of did like I know there's great ones out there where it's like this has been going on for 3 years and they update it every week. I wasn't confident enough in my skills at that time, so I just kind of did like random comics that you would kind of find in like a Sunday morning comic strip and stuff like that. And yeah, so I had some called I had a couple different ones. I had one, I can't say the name of it because I was just informed that I couldn't curse on the show. So which happened to be my most popular strip. But it was we'll just call it Friendship Bear, but replace friendship with something else. It was but yeah, so I did that for a little bit, and it was just kind of like dipping my toe in and everything to see what this is about and kind of get a routine. And then I started getting opportunities to do to move into the format of print comics, and so I just kind of started going more that route. That was definitely more my speed, more what I wanted to work towards anyway. So I eventually just kind of ran out of time to keep up with the regular web comic and everything like that. So
you haven't been doing that in a while?
I'm not standard web comic. I have comic books that I've done that are available to purchase on the web if you want to if you want to buy them digitally. But I haven't done anything in the what's considered the web comic strip format kind of thing, which it varies. But back then I was doing it was like you had the three panel story, or you could do like a 4-panel story, and they even had I'm assuming they're still around, but they even had these special like you can get like WordPress to do your websites and stuff like that. They had these I can't remember the name of it, but they basically had, it was almost like a WordPress type of site, or I think WordPress even has the templates for it where it would function best for those type of strips and stuff like that.
Huh.
So yeah, I
Nice.
can't remember. I think the one I was using wasn't a WordPress based one, but I can't remember the name of it. It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago.
So you also set up some stuff with artists here in San Antonio. I think you invited me to one of the events at was it TriPoint? I believe.
Oh, you talking about a Mizazu Minicon?
Was that what is it called?
I think so.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
At the TriPoint Center.
Mizazu Minicon. I was part of this group. I didn't set up the group. I found the group through I think GroupMe, GroupMe.com. Check it out. Like I'm gonna get sponsorship.
Yeah, you got sponsors now.
But yeah, I found I was looking at the time. I was looking for local groups, and I found like a local writing group, which was really cool group. Was short lived, but I learned a lot of really great stuff. A lot of cool tricks and stuff like that for writing. And then you had I believe at the time it was called Manga Research and Development. Something. It was like I guess they wanted every little letter of the alphabet in the name or something. I don't know. but so there's already a couple guys there. There's a group of guys and gals, and I started going there, and then we wound up changing the name to First Storm Manga, I think is what it's called, and we actually published 2 zines, so it's kind of like a variety show of different people's little manga shorts and stories and stuff like that. And then we decided to try to do, let's do, we got inspired by, San Japan, and there were some other local little anime cons, and we decided to do kind of do like a little 1-day free to the public, little convention, and everything like that. We were selling artist tables at low cost and everything, and I believe they're called Mizazu Minicon, and we had 2 of them before, like any great band, we wound up hating each other, and so we broke up.
And we're actually running games there as Chimericon, right?
Yes, yeah. Chimericon was there. AP was there. That's Antarctic Press. Comic book publishing company, been around for 30 years here in San Antonio, and Mizazu Minicon. So
during that time, you started doing more of the actual print comics.
Yeah.
With you did one on your own, right?
Yeah. Well, I was doing a lot of conventions and everything like that. Oh my god!
I brought this out, a signed copy.
Yeah. This is actually. Can I see that?
Engines of Doom. Yeah.
Can I see that? Okay, yeah. So this is actually, this is the first one. So I met a really cool dude named Fabian Ragal Jr. I think we met at we met at a Comic Palooza, and then at another show we were talking, and he was a writer, and I was not quite a writer at the time. I was mainly an artist. So long story short, we got together. He had an idea for a book called Engines of Doom, and so we kind of co-created it at that point, and I did the artwork, and so I don't know who did the other credits on here. So what was cool was we shopped it around to some publishers. No one was really interested at the time. So we decided to go ahead and we were going to self-publish it, and so we did a self-publish it and everything, and we printed it through Kablam there on the back, and that's why this one says Believe in Comics. That was Fabian's. That's kind of like his comic book company, or his moniker that he just does his personal stuff under. And then once we kind of got it out there and everything like that, then the publisher 215 Inc. 215 Inc. hit us up, and they wanted to submit it. They wanted to submit it in a diamond and publish it. And so we're like, well, we don't, all of our friends and family already kind of bought it, so we kind of want to do something extra. So this one's missing the Jack Manzo 5-pager story that would normally be in here. So the one that was in diamond, and it would have the 215 Inc. Label right there, that one has like an extra, I think, 5 to 8 pages, or 4 to 8 pages, and that would. Oh yeah, Revenge Bruiser. This is cool. I've seen this in a long time. I think I'm all out of copies. But yeah, so they would. Yeah, so there's 2 versions of this out there, and that's like the original version.
I get the original version signed.
Yep. So you were saying that he did the writing and you did the artistry. For people who want to get into doing comics, would you recommend them kind of split like that? Is it better to have somebody doing the writing and somebody else doing the art?
I don't. Well, I don't know. Well, I mean, if you're good at writing and you suck at art, then yeah, probably. It'd be good at, one versus the other. If you can be honest about what your strengths and weaknesses are, then you need to find someone that can make up for that and stuff like that, because it gets like I enjoy writing. I enjoy writing a lot, and but I also know that everything that I want to write, or a lot of ideas I have, my style of art isn't necessarily going to fit with that. Like it's not. It's one of these things, like there's other styles out there that can really help enhance this story, and so I'm completely fine with finding the right person for that and everything like that. So yeah, so it's just one of those things of I mean it works out. It worked out between me and Fabian. Fabian's doing really well now, really well. He's continued to get. He's got a great system, and he's currently working on a Samurai Jack comics. So he's writing.
Wow,
Really?
that's really cool.
Yeah, they're doing. I think it's a mini series. It's called Quantum Jack. So it's almost kind of like a mix. From my understanding, I haven't had a chance. I've picked up the issues, but I haven't had a chance to read it yet. It's in my stack of comics that I haven't read yet. But yeah, it's kind of like Quantum Leap, which younger people aren't gonna know what I'm talking about.
But I know.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think it's a mix of Quantum Leap, but with Samurai Jack, obviously, and
that sounds
doing really well.
cool.
Yeah, he's doing really.
Who is that through? Who did he do that himself? Or
No. It's man, who's doing it? It's I want to say, it's whoever has the licensing
for the Samurai
to do the comics for Samurai Jack. So are you looking it up or what?
Trying to.
Yeah, I want to say it's IDW. They seem to have.
Seems like it would be an IDW
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I mean,
That
they
was what I was
have they have a lot of the licensings and stuff like that. Them and Boom, so it could be Boom.
Well, that sounds cool. So I was going to ask you something going back to the webcomic stuff, because some of my kiddos this year, I'm teaching English this year instead of science, and they want to read comics. And for me, I think that that's a completely legitimate thing for them to read. A lot of people wouldn't agree with, but some of them like to read the webcomics, and some of them want to eventually get into doing their own webcomics. Is there a good place to start, like
IDW? Okay.
like WordPress or something? Is there a good, like, kind of user-friendly? Because I have 6th graders, so they would be like at a very basic starting point.
I mean, there's
Like if you wanted to build your portfolio.
Well, there's got to be tons of websites that are click and drag, like where you don't have to be a webmaster to be able to get your comics out there. Like when I was doing it, it was easy. So it's got to be even easier by now. I would say I'd say really the best place to start is just learn storytelling and learn sequential storytelling, whether if they're drawing it or whoever they're getting to draw it and stuff like that, and figure out your system, figure out your habits. And so the next question is why are you doing the webcomic? Are you just doing it for fun, which is completely fine, or are you doing it to try to make some money, and build a brand and everything like that? Which in that case you'd worry less about the website, because a lot of that, like I said, they got tons of stuff out there, they can just drag and drop. But you want to look into like Facebook marketing, all that kind of stuff, marketing it, digital marketing, just and doing promos, networking, all that kind of stuff. So that way you can draw people to your website, because it's a Sometimes a lot of people when they're getting when they're coming in new to the whole thing, you know, they have this like, you know, if you build it, they will come kind of mentality, or hoping on it kind of stuff, and that's completely opposite.
We got some awesome comments right now. Well, we got Russell's watching right now, and he says, "Okay, I'm here. We can start the show." David Ramos says, "Me too. I like Quantum Leap." That was a while back.
Oh, right on.
David Ramos says Tumblr, and then if they get really serious, Squarespace hosting is easy and cheap.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, a lot of people are doing stuff on Tumblr, and yeah, Squarespace is cheap. I personally haven't used Squarespace. Like I said, there's tons of stuff
now. Wix.
There's what it really comes down to is figuring out how to market your stuff and how to get it out there, so that way you can get readers, you can get.
And that's the difficult part.
Yeah.
That really is a difficult part. I mean, you can have like the greatest artwork in the world.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to get it out there and sell it, that's a completely different thing.
I guarantee you, it's going to take more time doing that than actually creating the comic and uploading it to whatever site service you're using or anything like that. The only thing I would say against Tumblr is you're going to get lost in an ocean of other Tumblrs and stuff like that.
I think my kids are probably still a little bit little to be using.
Yeah,
Tumblr,
well, yeah, that's true too. There's like no laws in Tumblr.
Art Skulls says made it. Russell says, I may be wrong, but comics today are not as popular as they used to be. Where back in the day, do you think there's a reason for that? And if there is, do you think the popularity will be as big again as back in the day? In the 70s and 80s?
I don't necessarily feel like the popularity has waned. I feel like the media has changed a bit, where they're looking at it more for the... I guess
a lot more people are looking at it electronically now, digitally.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing now.
Yeah, that's a complex question. I don't know if I'm the right person to answer it. But I do.
Opinion. It's okay.
But yeah, I do know that when comics were at their peak and everything like that, or when they kind of do this, there's way more forms and there's way more outlets of getting entertainment nowadays than obviously it increases over the years. So there were time periods when all you had was like the radio, comics, black and white TV, and that was pretty much it, and like magazines and everything like that. And now you have, so much, so many forms of just to entertain yourself. And so sometimes comics could be, like traditional style can be, not as popular. I think it also depends where you're at. Like when you do a lot of cons, sometimes your comics sell more in other regions of the U.S. or even in the world than they would at other ones. And there's a lot of different stuff that factor into that. But I think
it's kind of just like spreading it out there, because there's so many different variations and selections of different things that you can look at that you may not. Well, before it was like DC and Marvel, and that those were the two big guys.
Yeah.
But now there's tons of others that have really great stuff just as well.
Yeah.
Which brings me to think you're part of Guardian Knight Comics as well.
Yeah. Guardian Knight Studios now.
Studios now. It's studios now. You still have comics on your website.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
That's a little bit different thing that you've been used to, that you're actually in a studio now that's producing comic books. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, that was definitely that was a really good change from going just kind of like solo, or working with another solo individual. Like you get team ups every once in a while and stuff like that. And then when I joined up with Guardian Knight, is definitely an eye opener. It was kind of a little more, here's a little more insight into the actual industry and everything like that, and what you need to do. And it was just kind of, you get the opportunity to work with a lot of different levels of talent and everything, stuff like that. That was one of the ones where, because a lot of stuff I was doing was indie, with indie type of art, and the whole the indie area is a very big area. There's a lot of different flavors in there, from storytelling and art style, and they all have their place. They're all great. And then, but when I joined up with Guardian Knight, I was working with artists that would be kind of considered more mainstream style, more industry house kind of style, which was great. And it was also really, for me, the first time that I have actually written for like a professional comic book artist, because it was like everything else I just kind of drawing my own stuff, where I was drawing stuff for other people. And so that was really interesting. That really kind of shaped the way that I write, not necessarily in the way, didn't really change my stories or my ideas. There's sometimes there's stuff that you do have to compromise, because it's one of those things, like I learned to kind of leave certain stuff open, like fight scenes, for instance. Like I could just leave fight scenes loose and just let the artist do what he wants to do, so that way it's one of those things where they participate in it more, and they're having fun doing it. Because it's one of those things, like, because if for story purposes, if I have all these, if I have to have a page or so of talking heads just doing dialogue back and forth, so that way the story could progress, and then we get to the fight scene, then it's kind of like, all right, cool, next 3 pages of fight scene. I personally would like to see these 3 things happen in it, but hey, the rest is up to you, kind of thing. And but
so you're not like full block scripting it out for him. You're letting him have a little bit of that.
Exactly. The first, like on Moonstreak, I want to say like the first 2 issues, I kind of did like a full blown script, so that way the artist and myself could kind of get on the same page and everything. So it's kind of like sort of setting, it's kind of just setting up to be like, this is the kind of action that I feel should be in here. And then once he was kind of on the same page with me, then it was like I scaled back a lot, like, all right, man, do what you do, everything like that, and it worked out great. And it's just kind of, you gotta learn to work together.
Russell has a question for you. Do you think movies have helped bring back life bring life back to comic readers?
I think I can't say for sure if it's going to really create a huge amount of new readers. I think it's definitely creating interest there where there may not have been much beforehand.
I would agree with that.
I think it's like reinvigorated old readers.
Even I've done that before.
It's focusing more of the readers to more of the mainstream stuff that was out there that they didn't necessarily look at.
Yeah.
Art Skull says there are so many places to post comics now and other media that it's difficult to find those gems inside the sea of independent content. Making something stand out is not easy.
True. Yes.
I mean, I think
Yes,
I think
you're
a
right.
lot of the time it's that cover, right? I mean, a lot of the time it's the cover.
Yeah,
if you're
cover,
trying to get those people that weren't already interested.
Yeah. Cover. I would say I'd say cover in name, and this is something as when working with the publisher, because I'm a creative editor for Guardian Knight. It's really kind of hard when because we're usually open for submissions, but like a lot of indie companies are usually open for submissions, or they'll announce when they're open for submissions. And what's really difficult is when someone turns in the book that they've been working on for 5 years, and it's completely done, and they and they're like, I made this, and you should publish it. And it's like, all right, cool, we can't publish this. And it's like, well, why not? And it's like, well, it could be various reasons. You got content in here that we're not comfortable publishing, or or it's like, hey, the story's awesome, but the artwork isn't up to the standard that we have. And this isn't usually the case. Like, I love indie stuff, but I'm just throwing out I'm throwing out stuff that I've seen people go through with other publishers, and stuff that we've also gone through with people submitting to us. And we've had people with really great books, but it was something where, like, oh, the name's cool too, but we can't really read it because of the font that you picked. Right. And it's like, if we could just make this font a little more readable, we're good to go. And a lot, the creators out there, unfortunately, and it may just be like whatever level they're at. I went through the same thing too when I was starting out in the beginning. Like, I'd get hung up on small things, like, no, man, it took me 20 minutes to pick that font out. I'm sticking with that font, or they get very, very they get very just kind of really attached with every aspect of it. But what a lot of people need to keep in mind is, if you want to go the route of finding a publisher because you're trying to get max exposure that you can get, if you're going with a publisher that can get you into diamond previews, so that way your book is in a catalog that's being looked at by comic book shop owners, and to really kind of max out your sales and everything, you're asking that publisher to spend money on your book, spend time and money on marketing it, and the publisher is also probably going to have to pay upfront for the printing costs, hope to make the money back, which normally they do, because they only, like, they really only they print what's ordered plus extra for cons and website orders and stuff like that. And so you're asking the publisher to invest time and money into this, and they want to make a profit too. So they have to look at it as, is this something that we can market? Is this something that we think will sell? Is this something that we can, really, is this something that's going to take off and we can make action figures of, and and maybe get a movie deal someday.
And Russell, I got your question, but I was going to put my own little spin on it already, because I was going to ask you already. Have you found that your art style has changed while being at Guardian Knight Studios?
I don't know. It's looked better on certain occasions, because working with other talented people, like, I can crudely color my own stuff. Like, I can do like 1 to 2 layer kind of color stuff, but I'm not a comic book colorist. So working with other comic book colorists like Tony Galvan and Wes Hartman, they could really enhance your artwork, and especially if they know, like, my main style is really brush heavy, really thick. So finding someone that's able to color it to kind of balance it, not over render it, it's always a good thing. So my artwork's changed in that sense, and I've also I wouldn't say like it's changed in that sense. It's also changed, not like permanently changed, but if I know what colors I'm working with, I know what I can ink and what I shouldn't ink a certain way.
Because I think what Russell was getting at is, are you able to easily change for the type of comic that you're doing and switch style?
I'm not a style chameleon kind of thing. Like, I kind of have two styles. I have 2 illustration styles right now, where I have my standard comic book style, which is kind of a heavy, chunky, inky kind of thing, and then I have a little bit different style for when I do concept art, because my concept art I'm doing a little bit quicker. I'm not not doing like a finished sequential storytelling thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but no, unfortunately, I'm not I'm not a style chameleon in that sense. There
Are
are
most artists a style chameleon, or do you kind of
no
you have your
not
own style, right? And you kind of because y'all will pick different artists for different comic books because of the style that they're capable of
right.
doing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
No, there's not a lot. I know maybe 2 or 3 guys that can really just kind of one of them, a good friend of mine, Tim Lim. That guy can replicate a lot of different styles, and that's because he's a excuse me he's worked for companies that have the licensing to do like Marvel, DC, Stanley, Disney merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gotten to do a lot of different merchandise. So he's had to he's mainly a merchandise artist. So to survive, he's had to
Wow.
learn how to do different styles and stuff like that. I like trying out different styles. I like trying to learn new styles, or I like looking at people's styles and seeing if there's like, oh, I really like how they did that. I'll start kind of incorporating that shading technique, see if I can make it my own. And it's kind of what everyone does. But
Nice. Art Schools asks, is it better to start with an online following before approaching said publisher?
Um, so if you're talking about a book, it can help if you have like 30,000 followers, then maybe 5% of them might actually order your book, so that could help out with your, I don't mean to sound negative on that kind of aspect, but it is one of those things, like, not all your followers are always going to support
that's
what
kind
you're
of how
doing.
it is with everything.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that can help. The best way to probably approach publishers is you want to give them enough of, it's kind of like you've seen it in movies where guy comes up, he's a waiter, and he tries to hand a movie star like, oh, here's my whole script, and you're like, that dude's not going to read that script. Like, he's got things to do. He's not going to sit there and read the whole script. But if you hand in just like the pitch of that script, of like, hey, here's a real easy breakdown. Here's the keywords of this and that, that go on into it. And maybe if you have, like, especially if you're paying someone else to do the art, then you get sample art. Like, you get 4 or 5 pages of story made. So that way you're only maybe spending, depending on what you can get, maybe like, I'm just throwing a number out there for reference, but you're only spending like $500 to go towards this pitch, versus going in and spending like $3,000 to have a book made that maybe has, unfortunately, some aspect to it that publishers are going to pass on it. And so coming in and sending publishers the bare minimum. It's like when you go to a restaurant, you're ordering a burger. You don't want to hear the backstory of the burger. You don't really want to hear how the burger was made. You just want to hear it's got 3 all beef patties, 2 types of cheese, jalapenos. Like, you want to hear the good stuff, and then it's like, okay, now I'm interested. Tell me more about this.
And then it goes back to the marketing thing, because I know
Yes.
you and I have had this discussion several times, because you've helped me with a few of my games.
Yeah,
And
which I still want to go over that.
yes, and we have it over here.
Should do it after this.
Yeah.
I'm here. I drove all the way over here.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question. So, what if you, like you said, some people know that they're good at one skill or the other, right? You're good at the art, but you can't tell a story to save your life. Or you're good at telling the story, but you can't do the artwork to save your life. Are there ever chances, like at Guardian Nights or something, where you guys would be looking for, like, a staff writer or something, or an artist? Or do you really want somebody to pitch you just a whole book that they've already kind of gotten out?
There is, I think it's one of those things where right now, because we do have some in-house IPs. We have our own intellectual properties like Moonstreak and Gears and Bones that we're working on, that we already have writers for.
And you say Gears and Bows because we remember when it first started because we were there from like some of the beginning of this stuff.
Yeah.
And we've seen how it's changed and what it's become and what you have like two
volumes.
2 volumes now.
Yeah, second volume just came out. It was in Diamond Previews a few months back. So we have our own properties that belong to Guardian Knight, and we have currently right now we have staff working on those. We already have artists and stuff that we've went and found, and we do get people that submit in their artwork, and we do keep everyone on a digital Rolodex for we do get page quotes and stuff like that, so we have their information, so that way if we do work on it, if space frees up, like we finish with one property that's our own and we want to start another one, then we do reach out and say like, okay, what's your schedule, everything like that. Now on the other side of that, we're also, like I said, we're currently looking for third party IPs. So that's basically if you're the writer, because I know you're a writer, and if you found the artist and stuff like that, you kind of had your own team, right? And you're handling all that kind of stuff, and then but you're looking for a platform to get it in the Diamond and everything, stuff like that, so it gets out in the shops, or just another way to sell it. Then you could submit it in to us. And again, it's one of those things, you either already did it and you're like, this is it, this is my vision, and you send it to us and we're like, hey, this is cool, or hey, we're gonna have to pass on this because maybe we only do like horror and sci-fi books, and you turn in a romance novel book and it's like it's not really our demographic. And that's the thing too, you gotta look into the publishers you're gonna send to. You gotta look at stuff that they already have published to see what their genres are. Look for their submission guidelines. They'll put in there basically kind of what they're keeping an eye out for and what they're not necessarily interested in, which I should probably update ours.
Hey, Doug,
by the way.
thanks for watching, Doug.
Hey, Doug.
Oh, bye,
You
Doug.
just popped in.
And so it's one of those things where you could take that chance. At the very least, you do have Kickstarter to or you can, if publishers pass on it, you can go. I got a buddy right now. He's got a really cool book. It's a really, really great book, and he's going through the motions of he wants to go for the higher tier publishers, and he's kind of working his way down and stuff like that. And so he's working his way through the list, and that's go big. You never know what happens. But again, like I said, whatever publisher you're hitting up, you gotta keep in mind that you're asking them to be invested in it, money wise, and and it's one of those things where they obviously want to make their percentage, and they want you to make your percentage, and so that way you can pay your team or whatever your arrangement is with them, and everything like that. Read your contracts, and but yeah, so it's just really one of those things where like if you send a publisher an idea, and if you're willing to be flexible on certain things depending on what the editors may be cautious about and stuff like that, then then it's one of those things where then you can start building the book. And sometimes your team is more energetic knowing that there's already like a home to go to when it's all done. I was having not a conversation, but I was getting hit up through our messenger about a submission and going back and forth. And then I was asking standard questions. I was like, okay, well, how much, how many issues are you thinking? And he was like, oh, well, it's just the one issue. And I was like, okay. And it was like, yeah, it's like 50 pages. I was like, oh, well, that's
long.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's there's people that could do one shots like that, but it's risky because it's we're still an indie publisher. We're not Image or anything like that. And so it's for us, it's something we really have to weigh, you know, the risk and the pros and cons on, because that's you know, that's a lot of pages. So your print cost is more expensive, which means you would have to charge more for the book. And so when that comic book shop owner's flipping through and he sees a 50-page book by people, creative team that he's never heard of, and then you know, and then he's like, oh man, like, okay, like, oh, they're charging that much, you know, the people that come to my shop, they're probably not going to spend that kind of money on a book like that, and so they're going to pass on it. And so, you know, there's a lot of stuff that'll affect sales, and that's stuff that the publisher has to worry about. So.
And I think as a creative, a lot of the time that's stuff that creatives don't think of, right?
Oh yeah, no, yeah, and that's hard. I definitely had to start getting my mind working that way. I had to switch over from, like, you know, instead of worrying about what you know the individual reader would necessarily want, I had to kind of like switch gears and kind of focus, not entirely, still, you know, still want to know what the reader wants, but I need to also figure out what the comic book shop owner wants in his shop and what he thinks he can sell, so that he can pay his landlord the rent and, you know, and make profit. So we got 5 minutes left.
Yes, I know.
We're trying to stay to this new format of 45 minutes.
It's hard.
And we're having a hard time because we talk too much.
All right, so real
our
quick,
producer is being nice and telling us.
go to GuardianKnightStudios.com, and I also help out with a show in San Antonio called Alamo City Comic Con. We have a Halloween edition coming up on Halloween weekend, obviously at the end of October. And
it's going to be before Halloween? The weekend before Halloween?
Yes, yeah.
Halloween's on a Tuesday this year.
Yeah, that's why I said Halloween weekend.
And the weekend right before that, both of us are going to be at Nervana.
That's right, Nervana.
You're going to be there too.
Yes,
maybe?
I have college.
Going.
I'll be there for
Nervana, and that's going to be just kind of like across the street over here. So
yeah, so I'm going to be talking about a lot of the same stuff here for any of the kids or attendees that want more information on comic industry stuff, or at least what I know about it.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to bring their portfolio of their art or whatever, I'll stick around and check out some portfolios.
Cool, yeah, so you can definitely check it out there.
That's good.
Don't be too mean.
I mean, but it's good. I think it's good for you to learn about it early.
Yeah.
And then you can make those changes and adjust.
Yeah.
Rather than to keep this idea in your head all the time.
I mean, I had my dreams shattered in my first portfolio review. So, and after I cried for 2 months, I leveled up on all my.
Hey, Russell has another question. He has 2 questions.
Russell.
Let me give you the first one. Understanding cost, digital comics would seem to be better to publishers. Where would be the best places to find digital comics?
Well, Comixology is probably that's like the main one right now, and that's the one where you can get. That's where a lot of people are trying for Comixology. We're on Comixology. I think you have to be a publisher to be on there. I may be getting that mixed up because we were trying to get our stuff on a lot of different websites at the time. But Comixology's, I think, definitely one of the top dogs as far as like any other ones that are independent. I'm not entirely sure. Kablam, I think, has a lot. No, Indie Planet, they have a lot of stuff. Indie Planet's another good one. But yeah, so digital cost for a publisher, yeah, there are still pros and cons to a lot of that. Because I think it's one of those things where like there's still like a stigma to, you know, reading, you know, from like from the guys who just like holding a book and going and buying a comic book, and then they put it in a sleeve, and they have this thing that
physical.
they keep. Yeah, and a lot of them I think still frown on digital comics. I personally, I could definitely be buying digital comics, but I still go to the store and buy them. So that's, you know, one, I could be saving money, but I still like the original comics. So it's one of those things where the publisher still has to spend probably the same amount of money on marketing, maybe even more, because it could be more difficult to get people to buy those comics and stuff like that. And then what you're dealing with there is individual sales, trickling in to where when you're appealing to the comic book shop owner, you're looking at bulk sales. So you could sell, anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 comics in a single month through bulk sales of shop owners buying it, and then you get them out there, you ship them, and everything like that. So where digital, now granted, there's named people out there where when they drop a digital comic, because they did a ton of work for Marvel and DC, and they're just kind of going independent, and they drop a comic, and they sell a ton of them digitally, but it varies.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Austin, thanks for coming by. And this time we got it, and it's streaming. Yeah, go ahead.
Alamo City Comic Con Halloween edition. Go to almocitycomiccon.com to purchase tickets and photo ops, or you can get tickets at local HEBs. Well, pretty much any HEBs in Texas, I think. And we're gonna have Freddy Krueger and a lot of the cast from various movies of Freddy Krueger, and we just announced Ken Krasinski. Okay, I just totally butchered his last name, but he's the guy who played Jason Voorhees in Freddy vs. Jason.
Oh, yeah.
So,
cool.
So check it out.
Very cool. But thanks for checking this out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen. That's Austin. That's Patrick.
My name's Austin.
Geek out, SA.
I pointed at y'all.